Oh, hey, I know you're still busy just digesting this new software stuff, but I just got a message from Scott. Let me go through this real quick. He's saying need to include trading comps and precedent transactions. That makes sense. Recent takeouts have been at really high valuations, so we're going to need to note that. And also, he's asking to get our DCF model from research and ask our team to go through it carefully. He's saying here actually that the performance of the Eagle and the Michelin projects has been tracking really well, and that's been really driving the stock recently. He wants us to include team bios and tombstones for sure. Okay, let me just reply back real quick to Scott. Perfect. Okay, now that was a lot. I know he's busy going back to back with meetings. He's also got a couple of video calls, so I'm going to help you interpret some of this stuff. Let's get into it. All right, let's zoom back out. Alt WQ, we'll go down to 100. We want to think about all these sections Scott's asked for: background, valuation, team, and how to fit in everything he's asked for. Let's start right here with valuation. Now I'm just checking Scott's notes here. He mentioned trading comps and precedent transactions, but we're also going to include DCF, and we should probably summarize those. That's going to be 4 slides. Let's get those inserted. So this is going to be easy with Macabacus. If you could just click right here to the right of the valuation section, right up here to the Macabacus section of the ribbon, over under slides, let's click here, content slide. This dialog box comes up. What we want to do now, I think this is going to work right here. This slide with 1 tile, just click insert, and then just hit that 3 more times to get 4 slides in place, just like this. Let's close out of this dialog box. Now we can always change the order later really easily, but I'm thinking he might want to lead with the DCF model and then work through and end on the precedent transactions, which have been really high. So let's pop into this first valuation slide here, hit the tab key. Let's just put in a placeholder here for a DCF model like that. Hit escape twice and hit the down arrow to go to the next slide. Now that we're here, hit that tab key and then F2 to pop into this box here. This is going to be comparable trading, and then escape again, and the down arrow to the next slide. Now that we're here, hit tab F2. This is going to be precedent transactions. Just like that. Escape twice, down arrow to the last slide. All right, let's hit the tab key and F2. This is going to be a football field. If you haven't seen a football field chart before, they're really cool, and they're a great way to summarize different valuation techniques. All right, let's tap Alt WI, go back to the slide sorter view. Now we want to start thinking about this background section here. Scott definitely mentioned the stock performance, and he mentioned the project updates. Probably should have 1 slide for each of those. So let's just get the cursor to the right of the background section up here. Macabacus, slides, click content slide. And again, I think this 1 placeholder single tile here, if we insert that, that'll be perfect for stock performance. Then we could get the cursor to the right-hand side over there. And this blank canvas, if we insert that, will be amazing for project updates. Let's close this out. Let's get some titles in place here. So we want to have this one be like tab F2. This is going to be obviously stock performance, just like that. Lovely. Escape a couple times, hit that down arrow. Let's hit the tab key, F2, and we're going to be into here, project updates. Perfect. Let's escape twice, Alt WI to get back up to slide sorter. Now down here, let's get our cursor to the right of the team section. Scott was pretty clear. He wanted team bios and tombstones. We can put them both into this section. So Macabacus, we're going to go up here, content slides. I think these blank canvas will be perfect if we go insert and close this out. All right, let's pop into these team slides here, and we want to get the titles in place. So we're going to have here, team bios, escape twice, down arrow, tab key, F2, and these are going to be tombstones. Escape twice, Alt WI, we're back to slide sorter. All right, let's hit Alt WQ and go back up to about 200% just to see what we've got, back up to the top, and we can see we're doing really well. Background section, we're going to look at stock performance, project updates. Then we've got in valuation, DCF model, comparable trading, precedent transactions, and then a football field to summarize everything. And then down here in the team section, we've got the team bios and then the tombstones. This is perfect. So this is great. We've got placeholders in here now for everything that Scott is looking for. We're all set. I almost forgot. I was going to show you those other software features. Let's jump ahead and do that in the next video. I think we're in a good place here in terms of deliverables with this potential Robot Labs mandate. We've got all the sections and the slides in place that Scott asked us for. We've also put titles in as placeholders, so we'll know exactly what we need to populate those slides with in the future. I think we're doing well for time. So I'll show you a couple of features on the software, and then we can get started on starting to populate some of these slides. Now, one thing really quick, just to kick things off, is right here, the table of contents. Take a look closely at your slide numbers. They may still be showing as 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's so easy to update. Right up here to the Macabacus section of the ribbon, over here to agenda, right at the top, just click Update Agenda, and instantly you should see these numbers update so that they match what you see on your screen right now. Now let's zoom out a little bit. Alt-WQ, gonna go back down to 100%, just like this. Now this is a pretty straightforward presentation, but as you know, we get into some pretty complex mandates sometimes, and we might want a little bit more flexibility. Let's suppose, for example, we wanted this team section to be a subset of the valuation section. We could do that really easy using Macabacus. All you'd need to do is hover over this team section, right click, go down here and say Demote Section. You'll see a little @team symbol appears right here on that section. And then if you click into the fly sheet, you can see the new structure. Now team is a subset of valuation. So let's just click back to Slide Sorter View, Alt-WI. All we need to do to restore things is go back to the team section here, right click and say Promote Section. And everything's back to the same structure that Scott was looking for. So I thought I'd just show you that really quick. We don't necessarily need it for this potential mandate, but as you know, there's a lot of other situations where that may come in really handy. So let's go right up here and click into the valuation fly sheet for a second. As we discussed, I think this is going to work really well. So the audience knows we're in the valuation section and they know the sections that are coming up. But then what happens is we're going through the deck. If we get into the DCF, comparables, precedent transactions, football field, they may forget exactly where they are in the presentation. It'd be really nice if we could flag to them that we're in the valuation section. So Macabacus has a great feature for this. In fact, watch really closely. Right up here in the top corner of this slide, we're going to go up to Macabacus and over here to Agenda, and then click on Section Titles. You can see right here, now we know we're in the valuation section. And then if we go forward, we can see we're in the team section, just like this. This is going to be perfect. Let's pop back to the Slide Sorter View, Alt-WI, just like this. All right, I think that's enough goofing around with the software for now. I mean, we have everything really well laid out, but let's face it, these slides are still blank. We've got work to do. In fact, I was just able to pull the DCF model from the research drive a moment ago, and I flipped it to you in the next section. So you should have it available for download. We'll see you soon. So as I mentioned, I was able to grab that DCF file from the research department, and it was just a one-tab model, pretty simple. So what I did was I put it together in this Excel file right here with a bunch of other things that we're going to need, like comparables, for example. Now, what we're about to do is establish our first link between Excel, crossover to PowerPoint. There's a few things to talk about and a couple of things to set up. So we want to walk through it carefully in this video, and then the next links that we establish will be super fast. So let's go through a quick tour of this Excel file that we're working with here. We have a cover page. There's a summary. That's the football field that we were referring to earlier. We have comparable trading analysis here, precedent transaction analysis. There's the DCF model that we were able to get from the research department, some segmented revenue information right here. And then we have here a stock price chart. We're just going to go back to the trading tab right here and start our discussion. Now, one of the things that people often struggle with when they're trying to link from Excel over to PowerPoint is figuring out just how much of this Excel file will fit over into the placeholders in PowerPoint. Macabacus has a great way that solves for this. What we're going to do is jump over to PowerPoint and get started. So now that we're over in PowerPoint, let's go all the way down here to the valuation section and then across here to comparable trading and hit enter. What we want to do now, and if you could please select this placeholder right here that's in light blue, this is where we're going to get started. Let's head back over to Excel. So we're back over here in our Excel file. And remember, we also have PowerPoint open and we've selected that light blue placeholder. So now if you could please move the cursor right down into this cell, B7, and then go up here to the Macabacus section of the ribbon, right under Guides, click that little down arrow, then go all the way down here and click PowerPoint Selection, just like that. As you can see, Macabacus has dropped a red guide onto our Excel file right here. This is showing us visually exactly the size of that placeholder that's over in PowerPoint. So what we want to do now is hold down the Shift key and start moving across, making absolutely sure that we're staying within the boundaries of this red guide and all the way down to there, just like that. Now, if you don't mind, please go up to the Macabacus section of the ribbon. Right here, you have the section on export. What we're going to do is actually right here, this little white square. If you hover over it, you can see export match none. What this is going to do is going to export over to PowerPoint without matching either the width or the height. And we can see the shortcut right here as well, Control-Alt-Right. So let's hit Control-Alt-Right on our keyboard right now. And what that does is it takes a picture of that part of the Excel file and places it perfectly into this placeholder in PowerPoint. Now you may be wondering why we selected Export Match None. Let's investigate. As you can see, we have this image selected here in PowerPoint. Let's go up to the Macabacus section of the ribbon. And let's click here to specify that we'd actually prefer to match the width. What's going to happen when we refresh is this image is going to get stretched out to the entire width all the way out here of the placeholder. Let's go right up here, click refresh, refresh selected links like this. And we can see it stretches across for the entire width. So now let's uncheck the match on width and click refresh selected links again, and it goes back to the way that it was. If we click on export match height and click refresh selected links, we're going to see a slight distortion as it gets stretched downwards to match the height of the placeholder. So let's uncheck height and put this back to the way it was. Refresh selected links. It goes right back effectively to an export match none. So what we have here is a situation where if we match the size of the width or the height when we export, we're going to cause some distortion to our image. Let's pop over into Excel for a second and finish up there. So over here in the Excel environment, we can effectively see what Macabacus is doing. If we export match the width, then this image gets stretched from here out to the red line. And if we export match the height, this gets stretched from here down to the bottom red line. And we don't want any of that distortion happening at all. So this guide has served its purpose. So what we can do now is remove it from the Excel file. We can just go right up here, Macabacus section of the ribbon under guides and say clear guides, and it's all gone. Let's pop over to PowerPoint now and do a quick refresh. Now back in PowerPoint, we can see a little bit of this red border from the guides coming through. So let's click this image and go up here and say refresh selected links, and that comes through perfectly, and that guide has disappeared. So it's important that we discuss these export options and techniques in Macabacus. What we want to do is use the guides as our guardrails and stay well within them, and then export match none to ensure that we're not getting any distortion across into PowerPoint, and that all of our font sizes in the PowerPoint environment are going to be absolutely consistent. Let's jump ahead to the next video and look at some of the formatting options to do with color that we have inside of our linkages. We'll see you there. We've now established our first reliable link from Excel across to PowerPoint. And we even have a technique in place where we can transport those images without any distortion whatsoever. What we want to talk about now is the formatting options that we have available in the linkages in Macabacus for two reasons. Number one, we want to make sure that the formatting blends in with what we have in the PowerPoint environment. Number two, there's certain things on the slides that we may want to pop out using some bright colors. Let's get into it. So let's start here in this Excel environment. If you could please go up to Settings and click on here, Configure. Down the left-hand side, let's click Import Export. There's a lot of options in here, but we want to highlight three that are important. Number one, the ability to remove grid lines when exporting cells. That should be checked on. Number two, let's warn when exporting cells with formula errors. That should also be checked on. And number three at the top, this should be checked on, recolor fonts of exporting cells to the default color. Perfect. Let's OK this box right here and continue on. Now, some people like displaying grid lines in Excel, and with Macabacus, we can easily toggle them on and off. Control-Alt-G will toggle the grid lines on and off. So let's put them on for a moment and then head over to one of these cells and insert an error like equals 7 divided by 0, and we hit enter. That gives us a div 0 error. Now let's head over to PowerPoint and see what appears when we refresh. Now back over in PowerPoint, let's click on this image and click refresh selected link. We get this message that comes up. One or more cells in the source range contains a formula error. Do you want to continue? Let's say okay. So Macabacus has flagged that. We can see the error come through and it's removed the grid lines. Now before we leave PowerPoint, let's just notice for a second that the font color here is a dark gray, but these letters and labels are coming through in black. This is something that we'll want to look at changing with the settings in Macabacus. Let's go back over to Excel. Now, obviously we can delete out this error that we put in for demonstration purposes. Let's toggle the grid lines back off, Control-Alt-G, just like that. Now, as you probably know, it's very common to use different font colors to signify the contents of a cell in Excel. For instance, these cells here have inputs, and so they're blue font. And over here, these formulas are in black font. So these colors are really helpful when we're working in Excel to understand what's going on in the file, but we want Macabacus to recolor these when it ports them across to PowerPoint. So if you could please head up here into Settings and click Configure. Down the left-hand side under Format, we want to click on Colors, and we want to scroll to the bottom. We can see all of these colors down here that were very, very helpful to us in the Excel environment to understand the contents of various cells. Well, what we've done is taken all of these colors for you, and we've added them into this list of recolor colors. All of them except for this orange for partial inputs, which we're going to use for something a little bit different. Now, what we're going to need you to do is go over here and define the recolor color. These colors will all get recolored to this color. So let's go into this box, if you could click it, and then click this gray on the top left. This is going to match the color that we're using in PowerPoint. Let's click OK right here, and then click OK to this box, and we're all set. Now, what we're going to recommend at this point is if you close all Office applications, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word if you have it open, just to make sure that these settings are configured properly. Then reopen them, and we'll meet you over in the PowerPoint environment. Now we're back over in the PowerPoint environment, and as we mentioned, we've completely closed down the Office applications and then reopened them to get to this point. And notice that we still have the div 0 error here. We have blue font, and this font is still coming through in black. Let's refresh the slide to see what happens. So let's click right here on the image and up here, refresh selected links, and watch the changes come through. So as we can see, that div 0 error has disappeared. All of this blue font has been recolored to gray, and the black labels down the side have also been recolored to gray, so we're now matching perfectly with the gray font color up here. Now, if we step back and take a look at this slide for a second, the only thing that's really jumping out are these confidential watermarks down the side, but they're going to disappear later when we actually present to the client. Apart from that, there's nothing that really stands out. Let's go back over to Excel and use that orange partial inputs color to make a couple of things really pop. So we already have that partial inputs orange loaded into the font color cycle for you. So let's go down here. We really want this maximum and minimum to stand out. So let's select these cells and Control single quote for the font color cycle, puts it into orange. Then we can go over here for these multiples and hit F4 to repeat that last command. Now let's hit Control B to bold these, and over here, Control B to bold these as well. Now, as you might have guessed, we're back over in the PowerPoint environment. Let's click on this image and then refresh the selected link. We should see that nice orange color come right through. So as soon as we remove those confidential watermarks on the side, what's really going to draw the reader's attention here are the maximum and minimum, which is really important. We've established some links now, and we've gone through some color settings, but in the next video, we're going to talk about some other kinds of links called text links, which can be used to really bring some dynamic numbers into the titles of the presentation. We'll see you there.